Welcome to rSlash Am I the Butthole, where OP gets a toxic Karen fired. Am I the butthole for getting my coworker fired after she kept trying to prove that my service dog is fake? I have a medical alert service dog named Max who helps with a serious heart condition. He's literally saved my life multiple times by alerting before I pass out. I started a new office job 3 months ago, and everything was fine until Karen started her crusade against Max. It started small. She'd loudly announce, "Pets aren't allowed in the office," every time she saw us. I explained repeatedly that Max is a service dog, not a pet, and I showed her his documentation. She then started telling everyone that I was obviously faking because you're too young to be disabled. Things escalated fast. She would try to test Max by dropping food near him. She reported me to HR weekly. But the worst part? She started purposefully wearing strong perfume and spraying air freshener around my desk, which triggers my condition. Max alerted me 3 times in one day because of this. The final straw, I found out that she was taking photos of me and Max and posting them in a Facebook group chat about fake service dogs, asking for ways to expose me. She included my full name and workplace. I took screenshots and went to HR. They fired her on the spot for harassment and creating a hostile work environment. Now, my inbox is flooded with messages from her friends and family saying I'm the butthole for getting a mother of 3 fired over a dog, and I should have just worked from home if I'm so sick. Here's the thing, I actually feel horrible that she lost her job. Her kids aren't at fault here, but she literally put my life at risk with her perfume stunts, and doxing me online was scary. OP, you didn't get her fired, she got herself fired by violating company policy. Also by maybe attempted murder by the sound of it. I don't really know what OP's medical condition is, but if she's intentionally provoking it, isn't that at minimum assault? Maybe attempted murder? I actually don't know here. Feels criminal. Like I feel like she could potentially be arrested for it at minimum. So, OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. I think I'll give her, let's say 2.5 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for refusing to give my inheritance to my mom after she disowned me for marrying my husband? I'm a 31-year-old man, and I have a rocky relationship with my mom, Kara. Growing up, she was very set in her beliefs about same-sex relationships and race. She would often say things like, "I don't hate anyone, but I wouldn't want my son living that way," and "I raised you better than this." 5 years ago, I came out as gay and introduced her to my then boyfriend, now husband, Marcus, who's 36, who's black. Oh my god, the irony. The fallout was exactly what you'd expect. She flipped out, told me I was throwing my life away, and cut me off entirely. When Marcus and I got married 3 years ago, she refused to come to the wedding, saying she couldn't support my choices. We haven't spoken in 5 years. The only family member who really supported me through everything was my grandpa, Jack. He was the one person who accepted me and my relationship with Marcus. After he passed away 2 years ago, he left me an inheritance, which allowed Marcus and me to buy our first home together. It was bittersweet because I knew my grandpa would have been proud, but at least he's always been in my corner. A couple of months ago, my mom reached out, completely out of the blue. After 5 years of silence, she said she wanted to put the past behind us and claimed she forgave me for my lifestyle. I was skeptical. Then she told me the reason she was reaching out. She's been struggling with some health issues, chronic back pain that's made it hard for her to work, and she's fallen behind on her mortgage and bills. She asked if I could help her out financially using part of the inheritance from my grandpa. I felt torn. On the one hand, she's my mom, and she's genuinely struggling, even if the health issue isn't life-threatening. But on the other hand, she cut me out of her life the moment that I didn't fit her narrow idea of what a good son should be. And she never once tried to apologize or make things right with me or Marcus. I told her no. I've spent years building a life with Marcus, and it didn't feel fair for her to come back into my life now only because she needs something. Since then, she's been telling our family that I'm heartless and letting her suffer over a grudge. Now I've got cousins and family friends messaging me saying I should help her because family comes first, and that I'm being petty by holding on to the past. But to me, family doesn't disown you for who you love and then come back when it's convenient. Marcus supports my decision, but I still feel guilty. I know my grandpa cared deeply about family, and I don't want my mom to lose her home. But it's hard to believe that she's reaching out now because she actually regrets how she treated me and my husband, and not just because she's in a financial bind. Am I the butthole for refusing to give her any of my inheritance? OP, one thing to consider here which might make this easier is what your grandpa wants. I'm assuming that this isn't your maternal grandfather because if it was, he probably would have left her some money. So I'm guessing this is your dad's dad. And in that case, if your dad's dad really wanted to give your mom money, he could have in his will. But no, he specifically gave that money to you. But actually, if that is your maternal grandparent and he intentionally didn't give money to his own daughter, then that makes it so easy, OP. So I wouldn't feel guilty at all. And next time your cousins or whoever calls you about how you should put family first, say, okay, then why don't you do it? Why don't you give her money? And then just hang up. OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving your mom 2.5 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for being disgusted and just saying, okay, when my fiance broke up with me? I'm a 28-year-old woman, and I've been with my fiance, Alex, who's 34, since 2020. We met at a friend's party, hit it off, and we've been together ever since. He finished his doctorate in economics just last year. Since then, he's been working at university. I have my master's in media sciences, and I decided to start working instead of going for a PhD. Okay, so the problem is that Alex broke up with me last Monday, but it was literally so surreal and honestly just weird. For the past few months, he's been acting strange. He'd make demands and then drop them immediately. For example, he told me we were going to paint our walls back from dark green to white. When I asked why, he just said, "For F's sake, forget it," and never brought it up again, even when I asked. Another time, he came home and got mad because I was sitting on the couch with my head covered in a blanket. I had cramps. He was upset because I was just sitting there watching Netflix. Mind you, the house was spotless. When I tried to talk about it, he said, "Forget it, it's not a big deal." This kind of thing became common. Every time I tried to communicate, tried to figure out what was going on, whether it was something I did or maybe he was just stressed at work, he would just say everything was fine. But he was clearly seething with rage. I didn't even have to do anything. He would find something to complain about: the apartment, clothes, me, work, etc. So I gave him space, which apparently was also wrong. I told him I was going to help my parents with repairs for a few days, and somehow that was also wrong because he wanted to renovate the apartment too. Then, on Monday, I got a text saying that we needed to talk. I knew what was coming, and after the last few months, I'd made peace with it. When I came home, he was sitting on the couch. He didn't even wait for me to take off my jacket before saying, "I want to break up." Then, the verbal diarrhea started. He told me he resented me. First, because I didn't pursue my academic career further, even though I was capable, and he didn't want to upset me at the time. Then, when I started making more money, since he didn't make much as a PhD student, he felt like I should have the last word financially, which he hated. Mind you, I never said anything like, "It's my money, so I have the final say." That's a rule that he imposed on himself, and he hated it. He said that he hates our paint scheme, the couch, and even our effing crockpot. Then he told me that he had rejected a better PhD program to stay here because I had already started my job by the time that he got acceptance letters. Only he never told me that he had even applied overseas. He said a few months ago that he checked in with a friend who's in that program, saw how they're thriving, and decided that I ruined his life. He said I had too much control over his life and that he hated the idea that I could just decide not to pay for things and screw him over. He also said that he hated that all of his friends loved me and they didn't let him vent about me. Then he said, "I'm done." I was floored. I had already made peace with the idea that we were ending, and it hurt, but after that rant, I was just disgusted. I looked at him, probably with a disgusted expression, and said, "Okay." He lost it. He said this is exactly what he meant, that it was horrible, that we'd been together for 4 years and all I had to say was okay to our breakup. I just asked if he wanted to stay here while he figured out where to go. He said, "Typical, of course you're holding the apartment over me," and started ranting again, so I just left. I told my parents, and they're also confused. My dad suggested that I reach out to my landlord and explain the situation to see what options I have. I can keep paying the rent no problem by myself. My boyfriend covered the utilities and some subscriptions. Alex is still mad. He's going between texting me like a robot about the logistics of the split to being a seething butthole complaining about everything. I'm not even hurt anymore. I just feel nauseated by him at this point. I don't know. Should I have reacted differently? It sounds like he just hates all of his life choices and he wants to blame you for his bad decisions. And what does he want you to do? Beg and fight for a relationship that's doomed to fail? Yo, this guy's toxic. OP, I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving him 2 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for explaining what a gift is to my wife? Last year for my birthday, my wife gave me a present. I opened it up, and it was a puzzle. I was told to put it together, which I did, and it had a vague London scene on it. Then I was told to flip the entire puzzle over, and the back of the puzzle had the word surprise written on it. I didn't really understand where this was going, but my wife then told me that she was taking me to see my favorite football team play in London. I was pretty blown away all this, so I asked when we were going. She told me she didn't know my schedule, so she hadn't booked anything. I asked her if she had talked to a travel agent or if she had saved any money to do this. To be clear, I'm the only one who works in our house. No, she said, I just figured you would book it. Here we are, half a year later, and I've been unable to take time off. And I've also been unable to come up with expendable income to buy tickets for both of us to travel to England to attend a match from America, and provide childcare for our 5 kids while we watch a game. And every once in a while, she brings up the fact about how disappointed she is that I haven't appreciated her gift. I finally turned to her and explained to her what a gift was and how her giving me permission to do something that I want to do but can't afford to do with the stipulation that I arrange all the travel and expenses was not an actual gift. Now she's offended and hurt that I don't appreciate the gift that she's given to me. Am I the butthole? Hey guys, I'd like to give you a gift. I give you permission to go visit the moon. That's my gift to you. You guys have to call up NASA or SpaceX or whoever and kind of like work out the details and pay for it all yourself. But it's my idea, right? I'm the one who came up with the idea to give you this gift to go to the moon. So aren't I just so awesome? OP, I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes. I don't know if your wife exactly deserves a butthole score, but she's very dumb. So I think I'll give her like 2 out of 5 on the stupidity scale. Am I the butthole for refusing to give my brother a character letter to help his court trial after what he did to a friend's daughter? So I'm a 28-year-old woman, and I have a 31-year-old brother who's possibly serving time in prison for intimate relations with a 14-year-old girl who's one of my friend's daughters. This has been going on for months, as the evidence states, and we only found out about it a few weeks ago. When I found out about this, I had a discussion with my friend and apologized for what happened, but understandably, she wants space. I also cut off my brother, as this whole situation is just disgusting to me. My parents, however, have stayed by my brother's side and are trying to say the only reason he did what he did is because he has autism, and he didn't know that what he was doing was wrong. Despite them being shown text messages where he states himself that what he was doing was bad and he could be sent to prison for it. However, after they spoke to my brother's lawyer, he stated that we could each write up a character letter to be presented for him in court so the judge can have better understanding of who he is, besides the incident. But I refused because I don't think he deserves it. I'm currently 6 months pregnant, and I don't want my daughter to be around or grow up with a man like my brother. I've spoken to my husband about this for another opinion, and he agrees with me not submitting a character letter. But we're thinking of talking to the children that my brother was around in the family just to make sure that he hasn't done anything to them too. My mother is dying, and she says that she doesn't want to pass away while her son is serving time in prison, and something that, in her words, wasn't that bad. Both her and my father are pressuring me to do this, and seeing them so upset is hard for me. But whenever I even think about doing it, it makes me sick. Me and my brother were extremely close up until this point, which I think is making things harder for me. OP, think about it this way. Once your child is old enough to understand the context of the situation, do you think they'd be proud of you to learn that you were defending a P word? Or do you think they'd be proud of you for taking the side of a 14-year-old victim? OP, I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes. Please stick to your guns. I'm giving your brother the rare 5 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for kicking out my dad after he said he couldn't afford to feed me anymore? I'm a 28-year-old guy, and I've got my own house. I moved out of my home at the age of 18. Not really by choice. My dad basically pushed me out. Our relationship has been rocky since then. He's always been a huge drinker and smoker, which caused plenty of issues back then. Fast forward to now. He lost his house a couple of months ago. He didn't keep up with the loan payments. So he calls me up and says that he needs a place to stay while he gets back on his feet. I laid out a few ground rules. Either pay rent, $400, or cover groceries, about $250 to $300. And absolutely no smoking in the house. He laughs and says, "I'm your father. I shouldn't have to pay." But I don't budge, so he reluctantly agrees to buy groceries. From the moment he moves in, it's just one problem after another. He leaves messes everywhere, doesn't clean up, smokes inside even though I made it clear that's a no-go, and drinks like there's no tomorrow. Then, one day, I have a girl over and he just has this meltdown over it. So I tell him, "Listen, if you can't respect my space, you'll have to find somewhere else to stay." Things settle down for a bit, but last week he hits me with, "I don't have the money to buy groceries this month." I'm like, "Why?" He says, "Well, you eat a lot." And he admits that he spent all of his cash on smokes and drinks. That was it for me. I was done with him acting like he owned the place, done with the flashbacks of dealing with him as a teen. I told him to pack up and leave. So, am I the butthole? Nope. Sounds to me like poetic justice. OP, I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes. Your dad gets 2 out of 5 buttholes. That was rSlash Am I the Butthole, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.